Cathédrale Restaurant is a grand and beautiful space serving French Mediterranean cuisine. However, the restaurant comes from the Tao Group, which made me wonder if Cathédrale is just some overhyped club-type restaurant. At the same time, the establishment may just have one of the best happy hours in New York City, offering dishes like lobster rolls and steak tartare for only $5. Simply put, I just had to experience Cathédrale for myself. Today I'm here in New York City. Right now I'm relaxing along the Hudson River, and it's a fairly nice day out. There is a bit of cloud cover and it is a little windy, but one thing's for sure, it's a hell of a lot nicer than it was last week. Last week the weather was horrible. It was gray, cloudy, and rainy for seemingly every day of the week, but I had to get out just for my own sanity, and I had a pretty good meal. The experience wasn't perfect, but it was interesting. I went to Cathédrale, a massive restaurant from the Tao Hospitality Group. Tao is that really big, sort of pan-Asian clubby sort of restaurant. You kind of either love it or hate it. For me, I love all sorts of dining experiences, from the super fancy jacket-required 3 Michelin-starred establishments to the casual bodegas, delis, and even gas stations. However, if there's one type of restaurant that I'm not too fond of, it's the clubby party sort of restaurants. It's just not my vibe. I don't like the sort of show-offiness and pretentiousness and loudness. It's ugh. Case in point, if anyone's familiar with Poppy's Steakhouse, there's a location in Miami and Vegas. To me, that place looks like hell on earth. I mean, I'd eat there. The food looks really good, but I mean, I'd literally have to put in earplugs and wear a blindfold just to block out the horrible atmosphere. So yeah, I'm not a fan of these clubby party type of restaurants, but they're not all created equal. I've always been intrigued by Cathédrale. I mean, no question about it, the space is very impressive. Recently, the restaurant came on my radar again because of Restaurant Week. Their Restaurant Week menu sounded pretty good. It sounded like a really good deal, and plus, I discovered that Cathédrale has a ridiculously sounding happy hour with $5 lobster rolls. So I thought, you know what, let's give Cathédrale a try. I'll do their Restaurant Week menu, I'll take advantage of their happy hour, and maybe I'll be impressed with this clubby sort of restaurant. This was my dinner at Cathédrale. Cathédrale is located in the East Village inside the Moxie Hotel. The restaurant was opened in 2019 by the Tao Group, who already have a number of establishments in New York City, such as Tao, of course, PhD, and even Legacy, where I had that insane unlimited ribeye deal. In recent years, the Tao Group have made a concerted effort to showcase that they're more than just clubby celebrity hotspots. For Cathédrale, the Tao Group brought in chef Jason Hall, who has worked at some notable NYC restaurants, such as the legendary Gotham Bar and Grill. When I entered Cathédrale, I was in awe. The space was incredible. If there's one thing that the Tao Group gets right, it's that their restaurants and clubs look amazing. The space was designed by the Rockwell Group, and it's massive. In fact, I didn't even get the chance to see every area of the restaurant during my visit since it was so large. When I think of the East Village, I think of small, quaint, hole-in-the-wall type restaurants. Cathédrale certainly breaks that mold. Since I wanted to take advantage of the restaurant's happy hour, I got a seat at the bar because unfortunately the happy hour specials don't seem to be available in the dining room. First, I took a look at Cathédrale's standard menu, which I thought had some nice looking options. The food can be described as French Mediterranean. I was particularly attracted to the potato chip omelet, which sounded pretty interesting. However, it was clear that Cathédrale for the most part is a pretty costly restaurant. Thankfully, Cathédrale's 3-course $60 Restaurant Week menu had a good variety of choices from appetizers, entrees, and desserts. While I did order from the Restaurant Week menu, I also took advantage of the happy hour specials, which are available across a decent stretch of time from 5 to 8 on Sunday through Friday. There were a few different drinks offered, but the food was what really caught my eye. Besides the oysters, which were $2 each, everything was $5. That even included lobster rolls and steak tartare. Now, of course, they're not large portions, but for $5, you can't complain. I next looked at the drink list, which had some nice sounding cocktails, but I ordered my beverage off the happy hour menu. I went with a glass of the Veuve Vambol Blanc de Blanc from Burgundy, which was only $8. It wasn't bad. It was on the drier side, which I appreciate with champagne and various sparkling wines. The real highlight for me, however, was its price. Like I said before, Cathedral is a somewhat expensive restaurant, and to be able to save a bit of money on drinks was appreciated. I was also able to save a little money with the happy hour food. It wasn't long before I was presented with the steak tartare, which was only $5. The dish consisted of horseradish, an olive tapenade, and gaufrette chips. First, I took one of the chips and spooned a bit of the tartare mixture on it, and then took a bite. It was delicious. The meat was tasty, but I loved the flavors that the olive tapenade contributed to the dish. The chips were also delightful and imparted a nice crunch and a pop of salt to the concoction. All around, it was a solid steak tartare, and while it wasn't very big, for $5, it was a hell of a deal for New York City. Plus, steak tartare isn't exactly the type of dish that I would want a large portion of anyway. Soon enough, I was presented with my appetizer that I ordered off the Restaurant Week menu. It was the grilled octopus with fresh red chili, tomato ragu, and oregano breadcrumbs. Now, it wasn't the largest portion size. In fact, the restaurant could have reduced the sizes of some of their courses on the Restaurant Week menu, but I'm not positive. Nevertheless, it was a good-looking dish, and I was excited to try it. I wasn't disappointed. The course was fantastic. The octopus was excellent. It was sliced pretty thin, but that allowed for it to be perfectly cooked. I've had so many octopus courses that had uneven textures due to how they were cooked, but the octopus from Cathedral was spot on. Plus, I love the flavors imparted from the ragu and the other components of the dish. Overall, the octopus was an excellent appetizer, and my dinner was off to a great start, but unfortunately, that wasn't going to last. In the meantime, I was presented with my main course, the Faroe Island salmon. The dish contained summer vegetables, an onion vinaigrette, and lemon confit. It was a beautiful plate of food, albeit the salmon was pretty small. Still, I was eager to try it. The salmon was wonderful. It was perfectly cooked and full of flavor. The onion vinaigrette and lemon confit also contributed spectacular flavors to the fish. There were elements of sweetness and acidity, but everything was perfectly balanced. I also loved all the vegetables on the plate as well. The dish was an absolute joy to eat. However, the bar really filled up at about this time, and I soon realized that the space wasn't the best suited for a meal. Now, the bar is perfect for drinking and consuming the little bites offered for happy hour, but the fact is, it's loud, and people stand up behind those seated waiting for spaces to open up. Bars like the ones at Don Angie or Teresi are great for having a meal, as patrons are there mainly to eat, while the bar at Cathedral is more of a place to drink. There's nothing wrong with that, it's just something to be aware of. And like I said, I would have gotten a spot in the dining room if I didn't plan on partaking in a happy hour. Despite the loud atmosphere, I really enjoyed my salmon, but then things took a negative turn. I waited and waited. No one cleared my plate, my dessert wasn't presented, and I was getting annoyed. As I said before, the restaurant was getting very busy, and it seemed like everyone at the bar was juggling a million things. Frankly, it just didn't seem like there were enough people working in the bar area. Eventually, my plate was cleared and I was treated to dessert. I ordered the Basque cheesecake with apricot, Madagascar vanilla, and creme fraiche. It was a nice looking course. In fact, all the food I had that evening were pretty good presentation-wise. The cheesecake itself was solid. It had a pleasant, smooth texture, and I liked the flavors, especially the apricot. However, I felt that the dish could have used a bit more of the apricot sauce for better balance. Nevertheless, I was satisfied, and all that was left to do was to get the bill. Once again, I waited and waited. I felt like I was in the Siberia portion of the bar, as my section received little attention. In fact, the plates from the couple that were seated next to me remained on the bar for the longest time before they were cleared. As I said before, I don't necessarily blame the servers, as it was obvious that they were working hard, but there just needed to be more people working. working. Now, there could be more bar space in the kitchen or other areas that I wasn't seeing, but it just seemed ridiculous to me to expect a handful of bartenders that I saw to fix drinks for a restaurant of Cathedral's size. Thankfully, I eventually got my bill, which totaled to $79.48, but with my tip, I spent about $93. In summation, Cathedral definitely has some good things going for it, but it isn't perfect. Overall, Cathedral was sort of a mixed bag. I mean, it was certainly good in some areas. I really enjoyed my food, but yeah, that service, that fell a bit short. However, I can't get too upset about it because everyone there was clearly working hard. The issue was that there wasn't enough people working at the restaurant, or at least working in the bar area. Now, I did like all my food, and for me, that is the most important part with any dining experience, even though the portions were a bit small, but sometimes that's just how it is with Restaurant Week. I'm just not sure if the portions that I had would be the same type of portions one would get if they ordered off the regular a la carte menu. Now, one thing's for sure, if I go back to Cathedral, I would not be eating at that bar, except for the food that comes with happy hour. Their happy hour is fantastic. Cathedral may just have one of the best happy hours in New York City. There is no question about it, I would definitely go back to Cathedral for their happy hour. Overall, I think Cathedral can be a good restaurant if you know what to expect. For one thing, like I said, I wouldn't eat at the bar again. I'd much rather eat in the dining room. I mean, the dining room is clearly beautiful. Now, the bar is definitely fun, especially for happy hour, but if you're cutting a salmon and someone's bumping into you, talking loud, it's not the best spot to be. Yeah, the service definitely slipped up towards the end for me, but it's hard to complain that much when everyone was clearly working hard. It's just that there wasn't enough people working. At the same time, however, there are many restaurants out there that have much more efficient service, and time is valuable. I hate waiting too long for food. In summation, I'm glad I tried Cathedral. Now, the experience wasn't perfect, but my food was good. The happy hour is awesome, and I definitely would go back for that, and the dining room is pretty spectacular. Overall, it was a good evening.